Alright everyone, we are back again with some more Rome 2 on Joe's favorite city, Bertigala. Make sure you always send videos to Bertigala to him. He always appreciates it. We have an interesting one here. Let's start with the attackers, I think. Attacker-wise, our first one we have is Egypt here. Brought by the greatest named person in this. Well, second greatest, actually. Another attacker has the best name. But it's Juicy Nips, obviously. Obviously, completely family-friendly. Don't look into it any further. But he's got himself a Royal Thorax Swordsman, which I actually really like, that general. I don't see it used enough. I usually don't use it. I usually use a pass. But of course, we have one Citizen Cav, one Light Peltist, 3 Mercenary Cretan Archers, 1 Rhodian Slinger, 3 Egyptian Swordsmen. They're swordsmen. Sorry, I lied. Egyptian infantry. I forget the low-tier infantry. I don't normally see them. Thinking Galatian swordsmen, probably. 1 carrying axeman, as you might have seen. 6 thorax swords, and 3 Thoreos spears. Next up, we have Macedon, brought to us by Surf. He has got himself 2 Royal Peltists, including his general. 1 fixed ballista, obviously. 3 Cretan archers, 1 Rhodian slinger, 6 thorax swords, and 3 Thoreos spears. Finally, the best named out of the batch, I think, is Carthage, brought to us by Banana Bread. Now, he's also the reason I want the attackers to lose, because he brought a general bodyguard general. And as you all know, that is a worthless general to bring, and anyone who brings it, I hope, loses, even if they're on my team. 1 mercenary Balearic slinger, 3 Cretan archers, 8 Libyan infantry, 1 mercenary Gallic warrior, and 2 mercenary swords. Just ignore what's going on over there. That's definitely part of the attacker's army. But we're going to ignore that for now and move on to Sparta. Brought to us by KR 2004. He's got himself a Royal Spartan general right there. He's also got himself 3 Cretan archers, 1 Rhodian slinger, and 3 Perioeci spears. With that, he also has 8 Spartan hoplite making up the bulk of his army, which it's important for him to run a lot of hoplites to act as kind of like the anvil, because the other 2 armies are definitely not the anvil. They are the hammer. And with that, the first one is Seawolf 51, brought to us by the Odressan Kingdom. He has himself 4 Thracian nobles, including his gen. Should have gold chevron on them, I think. Makes them all the better. But he's got himself a Dacian Scorpion, which I'm always a fan of. He didn't put it where I like to put it, he put it down here. With that, he's got himself 4 Thracian Slingers, 1 Mercenary Falksman, and 8 Thracian Warriors. Brutal, brutal army here. Finally, we have Lusitani, brought to us by Fox's Spat. We got himself a Lusitani Noble General, great unit. 4 Balearic Slingers. These guys are brutal if you let them fire. He's also got himself 1 Iberian Skirmisher, little Javi unit. He's got himself, well, let's move on over here to the massive clump of forces that have all been placed on each other at the edge of the deployment zone. You know that because they're all sitting each other, and if the battle starts, they'll actually separate as that has started happening. But it is 8 guerrilla warriors and 4 Lusitani guerrillas. That is the army comps out of the way. Oh, I missed it. I missed the outside of clump. That makes me sad. I was hoping to see them kind of separate out. It's always fun when you do that. But I missed it. I'm sad. But with that, that is the army comps out of the way. Put your predictions in, I guess. I'm going to tell you, I hope the attackers lose, because that's a general bodyguard general, and they deserve to lose just for that. But we'll see if they actually do. Let's get this party started.
Oh gods, we pray to you so that you may look favorably on our efforts here today. May the world hear of our deeds and know that we did our utmost against the most cruel enemy.
Nice, short speech. Well, Such great little dialogue that you miss because you sit here, because of course you are. This is a strategy game. Why would you zoom in on people? I love those. I love the speeches, and I don't think I'll ever stop those. Those are some of my favorites. Nice little push up with Egypt. Let's see what they end up doing. I think probably with the enemies that you're fighting. With the enemies you're fighting, a concentrated position probably isn't the best option for you. Because a concentrated position forces you to use a lot of your ammo. And you're going to be fighting a lot of Sparta if you do that, leaving Adrian to have a lot of ammo left over. Obviously, they can't know what's happening here with Lusitani, so you're probably thinking Lusitani comes out. This was a misplay with the Citizen Cav. Usually, if you only have one unit, you definitely want to check these areas first. Actually, let's see how this charge goes. Yep, they ran away. I was about to say, because Falksmen, though you don't see it, they actually do have a bonus versus large. All Foxes do. And a melee cav, though, they will get a good initial hit in. They're not going to win overall. Now, the one thing I will say is I know they're going to put the tower wall here, because they always do. Especially based on the way that's moving. I don't mind that as much if you're not pushing that way. The one that I have in mind of is if both sides do it, because you just funnel yourselves into the middle. You need at least 2 points of attack. Yep, there's that wall going up. I don't know, maybe Carthage will surprise me and actually do a full-on attack. I don't think they will. And it doesn't look like Egypt's planning on attacking along this point, which means we're going to have another bloody battle of this corner here, which is going to be so advantageous to the defenders, it's not even funny. Because the whole point of defending is you have less defenders out, but you have the choke points and the points of the settlement. So artificially creating an extra choke point for the defenders is going to be really fucking useful for them. Which is always fun to see. It is always fun to see when the attackers give themselves a handicap. But we shall see. I believe that Egypt is going to do the smart play and not use all of his towers on a wall. He can use some of them, that's fine, if he at least keeps some of them to threaten the enemy with. Because the second these guys come off of here, they know there's no threat over here, and they don't have to stay over there. But let us see. Sorry, I'm already preempting this because I'm just seeing what I'm seeing too many times. Let's look at better things. Look at Lusitani being a fucking Chad. Bro plays right here. They managed to get successfully over here, and it looks like, yep, it's too late for them to check here. Yeah. You need to... I'm going to tell you this as good advice. As someone who does guerrilla deployments a lot, if you're going to check this speech, because you can deploy across this entire portion, you need to check these positions first, because a smart player is not going to stay at the beach. They're going to get into the forest as soon as they can, or even hide in this forest. This doesn't help you in any way, except give you a false sense of security. If you were smart, what you would do, if you're this late into it, bring the cavalry in here, and then explore the forest. If you see nothing there, what you want to check for is the other forest on this side. Because the other thing people do is they move units this way and use this to get as close as possible. And kind of then just maneuver along here. Especially with everything so concentrated, there's not going to be any outriders. Okay, so Egypt is actually doing the smart play. This is exactly what you want. You want a few units here. Yep, look at that. Forcing the slingers off. Perfect already. And the slingers are caught. So they're taking tons of casualties. And these are just Egyptian infantry. Egyptian infantry is putting a good foothold here. This forces the defenders to defend this point as well. And with Odrysian Kingdom and Lusitani there, they don't have that much in the defense. This is a good play, even if it's 3 towers. That's fine if they do that with the tower wall for the rest of it, because they're not wasting all their towers. Some of the towers are there. They're going to help. Look how empty this is. Like, if you can... Maybe even take one more off because you don't need that full tower wall. That's not going to be very helpful. Bring that thorax around here and get Macedon to push in now. And look how much dead room you have. Because you can actually see here. You can see this courtyard from his position thanks to the Egyptian infantry. He is limited infantry. Putting another unit there, yes, you may be hit by Thracians, as you can see this one coming around the corner. But it provides another avenue where you can push in and another place that they have to defend. It means that they're not safe putting their units here. So now that unit's coming in is going to block that up. Get these guys around, break the attack and rear penalty and losing decisively, and get into the get into the slingers. Let's see if he does it. Let's see if Egypt does it. If he does, yep, look, already back to yellow. Yep, and now those Thracians have to deal with Macedon. These guys are out of position. And watch this, he's just cleared this courtyard. Forcing more units in. You shouldn't have pulled back. You should have continued pushing because there's not much infantry there. You would have forced that Periokii spear around, and you would have been able to get into them. They're losing that combat. I'm assuming it's because of the initial charge. Yeah. It's that initial charge. They're somehow attacked in rear, but they're going to start losing the combat soon. Yep, they're down to winning slightly, and they'll start dropping. Actually, that is a very smart play as well for Carthage, because now you can start doing that. Maybe move... It's harder on this side because you want the angle. I get what you want. And that actually works really well because it keeps the angle defense. That's a really nice play. Yep. Egypt gets into there. He's just caught harassing the backlines. That's exactly what you want to do. Downside is Lusitani is preparing their own ambush and getting behind them. I actually don't mind this assault. I think it's a very good one right now. Yep. Nice play with the Thoreos. Don't mind sacrificing your Egyptians, getting into those Spartans. Now the one issue I have is Macedon is definitely taking a lot of the brunt of this. That's what Thorax are really there for. Those Galax getting on in. Yep, hitting anything that they can. I'm assuming, what are they aiming at? The Thracians, yeah. Yeah, Thracians are dangerous for this reason on those flank attacks. You can see this one's not loosened, so they had to bring another one in. But if you can mitigate that charge or do this with the Thraos, these guys are going to drop. Watch. Yeah. They're not going to have a proper charge in. They didn't have a proper charge in here, so they're winning decisively because they're still hitting the routing ones, and now that they're no longer hitting the routing ones, bye-bye. Yep. It's exactly what you want. Perfect plays on that assault. They're still moving into position. And actually not a lot of ranged used at the moment. I actually really like this. I think this has been going pretty well. I don't know why you're bringing those skirmishers out. I guess maybe to bait something out so you can shoot it with Polarics, but I don't know. Or maybe as a distraction, pull the units away so you can launch your strike. One of the two. But those skirmishers are definitely just a sacrifice. They're not even firing. Maybe it's a misplay, I don't know. Look at that, that Egyptian infantry's still alive, he's able to get around. Now if I was him, like that, just yeet yourself over... he got caught. He got caught, damn it. But see, Thorax ended up winning that fight, they took damage. It's definitely thanks to Archer support. Yeah, this is what Egypt just wants to do. Egypt just wants to sit in this corner all game. Egypt does not want to have to deal with anything else, and that's what you should do, is bring a few units out, kind of deal with them. Zoom in. No, they're not. They're just getting massacred. Alright, here we go. It has begun perfectly with Lusitani. Initial charges in. Nice hit on those Cretans, but they did respond pretty fast. Good job there. Those Peltists are screwed, though. Those Peltists are not going to win the fight there, because guerrillas are actually very good fighters. Now they lose overall, however they have higher melee defense, which does them better when they're there. But it's just the number of them. Get that unit. Yeah, that unit's in the side. Getting into the carry and axeman, perfect. It's exactly what you want. You're eliminating a lot of the range threat. Honestly, that Lusitani Gorilla just needs to charge. You're targeting the wrong units with those. Lusitani Gorillas are fun because they're Thereo-styled ambushers. But I'm going to tell you this, as someone who uses both units, far more dangerous is just more Guerrilla Warriors. Because I found the Javelins to not do much, and they don't have much morale after the Javelins are done. Alright. That Peltis is pretty much dead at 61 kills. That's at 124. It's doing better. But it's not going to do better overall, because now they're going to get hit here. And they're using a lot of ammo. Whether or not this fully... Honestly, I would consider this a success. I don't know how that got over there. But I would, in the end, consider this a success because they're causing a ton of havoc. If I was the Odrissan Kingdom, what I would do is actually start... I would have rotated a unit and hit there while they weren't paying attention. Just fucking bashed them. Lusitani is distracting a lot of the back line. Hit them back at this point. Yep, he's going to lose that Peltis. That Peltis got 170 kills, but they weren't able to do what they could. Lusitani Gorilla came back. Getting into those Threos. Nice charge. 104 kills, 66, 47. How's this one? 69, let's go. As I said, if you were going to run this, probably just run all Gorillas. It's something I found. I'll be honest, I still like to bring them. But see, look at this. How light this is on this side. I get a habit in clicking my mechanical keyboard too much. But, great job with the assaults. I think they did a very good job. They used a lot of ammo up. They forced them to use a lot of their Threos, a lot of their... they've lost... basically effectiveness on one Peltist. I don't know if the general still exists. But the other one's definitely dead. I'm going to assume that even if one survived, both Peltists are... Even if both survived, both Peltists are kind of worthless now. This Threos is still wasting ammo. Excellent guerrilla assault, in my opinion. Did that get more kills? No, it didn't, because he wasn't paying attention. He's just running them away. Honestly, you might as well just fire the javelins. That unit's not going to be able to do much. That's exactly what you wanted. Now, since they had to turn their positions over, now those Balearics can get in. And this is why I don't like these walls, for the most part, is because if the defenders are smart, they're not going to target that position. The position they want to target is right here. Yeah, oh god. Those Balearics are going to start racking up kills. But now that the panic's gone, they can start to come back in. Yeah, they're just getting wrecked. Those Falksamen are still going, man. Heroes. How is that Scorpion going? 21. Actually protecting their own Scorpions. And this is the other thing about tower walls, is Cretan, the archers themselves aren't affected, and Sparta brought a bunch of archers. No, these guys brought stingers, which would affect them, but they just have to do that. And then they're able to fire. Nice job with the slingers. Yep, archers are getting back into position, and honestly, get 3 units to get ready to go up there. 3 units can't stop. This Spartan hoplite can't stop 3 units coming in. One that way, one this way, one this way. Bomb. You're done. They don't have the infantry to support this assault. You need to assault here. You cannot sit in this corner because this corner is going to screw you over. Especially now that you've defeated an almost full guerrilla army. You know that they're down a lot. You need to make advantage of infantry because you used a lot of range to deal with that threat. More than you were planning on, I'm sure. Yep, see, as soon as these guys, as they're back in position starting to hit, they'll pull back. Properly done there, but the 790 and 79 kills. Nice job. Those things are hitting. You need to get units on these towers. This is needed. You need to get these on the towers. You need to eliminate this threat. You're not eliminating the threat. Ooh, those poor thorax. And I don't know, maybe he's having trouble putting it on. If you ever run into trouble getting people on the tower, perfect, that's what you need. Make sure you're clicking on the tower position right when you're there. That's probably what it was. Yep, here's another unit coming in. The issue is they do sometimes use multiple towers to do so. So you might want to grab this tower as well. But see, forcing them back. They're unlucky that that general still hit him, but once that general is visible, you want to hit that with everything you got, because that thing has 45 armor, most of it is shields. Let's see if they target it. Yep, there's the other thorax coming up. Perfect, perfect. You're forcing them out of this zone again. No, they're not going to target the Lusitani nobles. Honestly, with the infantry he has, if he had a few more towers, one he could put here, one he could put here, that's what you want. But see, look, this unit's coming out, forcing those nobles back. Get those guys over. Those Polarics are being forced up. Get that unit right there. Get them in. Pull one of these towers off here. With that Thraeus, put them like that. Bam. Done. Open up this front because, yeah, this is not going well. I mean, it's going well in the fact that these guys, the defenders, do not have the infantry to be able to hold anywhere other than this choke point. You're keeping them in that choke point. The issue is you're not expanding anywhere else. Carthage, bring a unit up here. Bring it up there. Force men away from this front where you can win that fight. Do that and you do tons of damage. Let's see. Yep. Okay, perfect. Archers hitting those Lusitani nobles. But they're now going to pull from this assault because they're not going to put enough infantry up. And I'm assuming that might be the last of seeing people get in this corridor, and you're going to give the defenders a perfect shot, a position to shoot. Let's see. And I'll tell you this, as a caveat, you don't want to overextend with your units, so I get what they're doing, trying to keep it condensed. There's a difference between overcommitting and basically taking another position. Oh, look at that! He did do that. Yep, new positions, he's moving in, perfect. Yeah, that's what you want to do with an assault. You know what, I like this Egypt player. I think this Egypt player is a great one. He's been putting assaults in. Now, I think he should probably delay that Thorax assault until these two were ready. But I think he's done a good job. See, look, they've broken through here. Because they were forced to use units to hold this position on the corner. They're able to get around. Now, this guy's going to charge in. You see that Thracian warrior. Egypt, you need to push in and hit that guy to make sure he doesn't flank. Okay, you're already moving those Libyans. That's fine. But you need to utilize your unit instead of holding this position. No. Those Thracians are going to get a great charge off. You cannot shoot them when they're like... Oh, gosh. They just doomed that Libyan. I'm sorry, Libyan. Yep, okay, they have... So, trick, when you're charging shock infantry and shock cap, count to 5 before you pull them out. Because it takes around 5 seconds for the penalty to disappear. You'll do a ton of damage. There you go. That's what you want. Perfect. Assuming, yeah, you need to get that Thorax in now while you move these two units in. Get that Thorax in at the same time, and you've broken their defense. Yeah, there's 8 minutes left. I'm assuming, yeah, Carthage is just going to push into here. Honestly, the best play Carthage could have done a few minutes ago, 2 minutes ago, was push this unit, one unit here, maybe even get a second unit in, because he would have forced more defenders away from this point. What do I see? Yeah. I'm going to tell you this. I'm calling this here. It's going to be a defender's victory. We'll continue to watch and see if I get wrong. But yeah, this prediction is definitely going to a defender's victory. And I'll explain why in the endgame screen if I haven't done so enough already. But the particulars to why. It's the same issue I've seen too many times on the Spur de Gala map. Yeah, those Balearics are just going to have the time of their life. You need to bring that Thorax in at the same time. You can't just attack from one direction.
Warriors, move out! Move it!
Can you bring another unit in? Please. Bring this Thorax in onto this point and hit all those people while those nobles are stuck. Now, I know that there are Thracian nobles here, but you have ranged yourself, if I'm not mistaken. You might be out of range. If you're out of range, don't go in. But if you still have range, you want to commit to these fights, because committing to these fights are going to spread out those already beleaguered defenders. Because the attacker's advantage is either more troops or more quality, depending on how you run it. And you might actually run with a bit of both, depending on how the team comps are built. Yeah. 6 minutes. I do not like to look at this meat grinder, and that's why I've been sticking away from it this whole time. Yeah. I mean, first thing I do when I zoom in, units getting shot in the back. Those tower walls did nothing. The tower walls over here did something because it prevents units from being shot as much, except it didn't because they had mercenary Cretan archers who could fire over the tower wall. I get you do it for the slingers. How did that Scorpion do, by the way? 240 fucking kills. God. That tower wall really prevented the Scorpion, which fires in a straight line. That's the biggest issue I have with these outer wall defenses, and it's the one thing I always say to everyone. An active defense always will beat a passive defense. If you had these 5 towers at the start and utilized all of them early on, the enemy would not want to put their units in here. So you wouldn't need this tower wall defense because this area would be far more secured, and you could adjust, and you put the enemy on the back foot. These sorts of passive defenses give the defender the initiative when they shouldn't have the initiative. Because what the defenders can do is go, alright, I'll bring the person with archers to this tower wall and fire over and deal with that threat while they're not noticing it because they're not expecting a threat. Or, hey, this wall's here to... I have a few towers here to prevent the enemy from sallying out. That's fine. That's why I said 5 towers. You put those 4 there, force them to go around like that. You have a better avenue of hitting them. How's that general going? Do 10. Perfect. That general's done nothing. That's how you know it's a real Chad victory. If that general does nothing, doesn't lose anyone, you know he's a real hero. Yeah. I think the biggest issue I have with, biggest issue I have with this is you know what the enemy's capable of, and you play into their strengths. You know Sparta's going to bring a bunch of hoplite to hold a position, and the smaller position they have to hold, the better it is, because the Odrysian Kingdom and Lusitania aren't going to be capable of holding a position for very long under fire. And Sparta did exactly what I thought they would. They made that front line. They're still the ones holding people back, and Odrysian Kingdom is going where they see a gap, or where there's an opening, and charging on in. MVP for the defenders is definitely Sparta. Sparta did an amazing job holding, because that's all he had to do. Lusitani did a great job at deflecting the enemy, which is great. But he did end up putting the defenders in a more awkward position, and it's glad that Sparta was able to cope with it. Not all players can. That's why if you ever see me playing a random game, I'm probably not bringing many guerrillas, because I know the people I'm playing with might not be very well equipped to handle what I'm going to do and the stress of having less infantry. This Sparta player did an amazing job for that, and I just want to say that. You did a wonderful job, what was it? God, it was KR 2004, I forgot the year. KR 2004, you did a great job. Wonderful job there, honestly. I could not expect better from a Sparta player in this situation. They did what they had to do, and they held these positions, and they dealt really well with these threats because there weren't too many of them. Of course, the Odryssans had to help, and that's, of course, something that has to happen because the Odryssans are going to be the hammer to your anvil. Yep, they're going to come on out, and they're going to hit. Good job, Thracian nobles. Assuming they're just going to get torn down. Yeah. Don't overcommit into this fight. No point in it. You won this fight. You're winning it. Don't overcommit because you want them to focus on this breach so your Balearics can hit. And that general bodyguard, by the way, if that was a noble cavalry when the guerrillas attacked, instead of sitting in the back doing nothing because he was scared of it dying, he could have done some real damage and saved a lot of troops in that assault. And that's why you don't bring a shitty fucking general. Ever. Because when your backline is hit, you need that general to pull fucking weight. Because that Royal Peltist, those Royal Peltists were left on their own because Carthage did not have a fast action force. That Egyptian citizen cav did far more effort than the general's bodyguard did because of the numbers it was in. If he had a noble cav, that noble cav would have wiped so many units out, and it might very well be a different story we're looking at. Because Sparta does not have many troops left. So that means the Thracians will be forced to hold positions with Thracian nobles. I mean, obviously Lusitani doesn't have anything left. Yeah. Honestly, I know this should be one of the very reasons you do not bring a shitty fucking general. Never bring a general's bodyguard. Don't even say, it's because I want more troops on my main line. If you get attacked in the back, in your back lines where your general's supposed to be, and your general is fucking useless, you're screwed. Because it doesn't matter that you have better infantry. Those guys are most likely already fighting, and your backline's screwed. Your general needs to be a strong unit that can function on the backline until reinforcements get to you. And in this case, he couldn't. The Royal Peltist was, but he got no reinforcements because no one else's backline was capable, except for the Egyptian citizen cav, and the citizen cav didn't kill fast enough. If there was a noble cav, I'm telling you, it could have been a very different story. I think the Royal Peltist, I think, would have survived. They would have still been bruised, battered, and at least half strength. But they would have survived, and you could have used the Royal Peltists. So, I take this, I know I make fun of people, and I joke about it. I hope no one ever brings a general's bodyguard. It is a waste. And every time I see someone getting good kills with a general's bodyguard, imagine how well it could have done with a noble cav. Because the noble cav is significantly better. It has a different function, which the general bodyguard is a 40-man unit just meant as command, which means it gives morale and provides buffs. That's it. When he was hit in the back, it was useless. It couldn't do anything. A noble cav can provide those buffs and that morale bonuses and act as a shock cavalry, hitting the back, hitting the flank of those guerrillas, crushing a flank, allowing the defenders or attackers to respond. And I know there's a comment saying shock cav is overpriced, not worth it. They are definitely worth it in Grand Campaign. Now, they'll lose to melee cav. They will. And they'll lose in a sustained fight. They will. but you don't throw them in a sustained fight or initial fight. There's a reason I can get 300 to 700 kills. I think one of Joe's videos you saw I had a Hippeus Lancer with 700 kills. I didn't do anything special with them. The enemy just moved in and I hit them in the back. And I ran them around and worked faster than they could react because they were stuck engaging infantry. Just like that guerrilla assault would have been. And I'm going to tell you that Noble Cat probably could have racked up probably 200 to 400 kills easy. Maybe even up to 500. But let's get into this army comp. This is enough of a rant. I genuinely hope that you do not bring a general's bodyguard. That's the end of the rant. Because it's never worth it. It never is. That extra unit of infantry you could have got that was better is never going to be worth it compared to having a general that can respond, or a unit that can respond to a disaster situation like this and be capable of hitting an enemy hard before they're hitting an enemy hard and being able to do damage and pose a threat. But let's get in before I start ranting even more. Fox's bat here, Lusitani. I'm ready to see what he did. Yeah, he got the least amount of kills. That was going to happen. Guerrilla forces tend not to be sustainable for very long, but he did his job. With nearly 1,600 kills, he did his job incredibly well. I think that was probably the biggest thing to take away from the defenders as a positive. The defenders each performed their jobs incredibly well for each of their roles, and they each had a different position. Lusitani's was to disrupt the back line and kill the isolated units that were being held in reserve. They did that, they caused those disruptions, allowed the attacker or defenders to press an advantage on the inside, and let's see his results for it. That Lusitani Noble, 246 kills, still incredibly healthy. Guerrilla Warrior, 127. And that's pretty much all for the Guerrilla Force. But that's all you really needed, because they killed 2 Royal Peltists and disrupted a backline and injured ranged units and forced them to use up ammo. Ammo that could have been used for the choke point fight, which held because they didn't have the ammo for it. But outside of that, Balearic Slingers, 219, 219, 137, and 222 kills. All of them did incredibly well, because after that backline disruption, the enemy couldn't mount a successful side assault. Were unwilling to, I should say, and allowed the Balearics to just have that avenue to target the back of the choke point. So, in both of those instances, Lusitani did their job perfectly. Seawolf, his general didn't do anything. Full strength, no kills. That's exactly what you want to see in a victory. He was the anvil for Sparta. Where Sparta's lines got bogged down, he would go in and hit. When Sparta was at the risk of getting overwhelmed, he would come in and support Sparta with a quick hit and back out. Great job for that. 120, 125 on those Thracian Slingers. Those Nobles, 276, 212. Warrior-wise, 119, 132, 121, and 119 kills on those Foxes. Wonderful job. And finally, great job with that Scorpion, I just wanted to say. That was perfectly positioned, and no one, and even though they could have probably easily shot it, no one did. So you got 240 kills with that Scorpion, so congratulations. That definitely rounds out that attack on a positive note. Sparta here. KR 2004, 348 on that Royal Spartan General. Those Cretans did a wonderful job at eliminating the threat of the archers on the flank, in my opinion. You got 221 kills, 128, 113. You also got 100 kills on those Rhodian Slingers. Perioci, he got 1 Perioci with 193. And of course, kill-wise, Spartan Hoplites, 374, 113, 117, 104. Like, the fact that you can get those kills, he held that choke point, and when the units fled, they've harvested those kills for sure. I'll say this. Seawolf's job was to be that anvil to help Sparta out. Sparta did a wonderful job knowing that he was going to be, or even at least knowing when he got into the fight, that he was going to be low on infantry when he saw the other's armies. He did an excellent job of holding the points he needed to and making sure that they didn't break. So, I think he definitely is the MVP of the defenders. even though his job wasn't as flashy and isn't as cool as the other two. Without KR-20, without Sparta, the defenders wouldn't have been able to do the stuff that they did with Lusitania and Odrysian Kingdom. Let's get to Macedon as Serf. He was forced into the meat grinder, so I feel bad for him. But that was his job. He was the middle attacker. He had to take that brunt of the fight and hope that his allies could support him on the flanks. General, sorry, man. It's what happens. But 204 on that Cretan, and 324 on that mercenary Rhodian. Amazing job there. 172 on that other Peltist. Thorax swords, 194. 69, nice. And then Thoreos, 110, 150. A lot of those were used on the guerrilla forces, which is what Lusitania needed them to be used on. And because of that, they weren't able to be used in the choke point fight, allowing Sparta to hold. Carthage, 2000. He got the most kills on the game. I'll give him that. But team play-wise, he let his team down. He followed up in the choke point, which I'm sure was their strategy, so no fault there. I think it was a bad strategy, and I know a lot of people argue that you do that. A lot of people do that. Doesn't change the fact that I think it's a dumb strategy that favors the defenders 9 out of 10 times. But biggest issues is his general unit. Look how healthy it is with 4 kills. There was a massive guerrilla assault, which means he was not comfortable putting his general into harm's way, while the other 2 were forced to. And I think that was the biggest issue, where he failed on the team play, because in that guerrilla assault, he did have a few units on the flank, and I think he did a good job wiping out that flank a little bit, but I didn't see much movement there. I think Egypt and Macedon did far more. But with that, 127 kills, 128 and 154 on those mercenary Cretans. Those Libyans, 287, 166, 158, 117, and 147. Wonderful job on those Libyans. Libyans tend to perform very well. Upper mid-tier unit. But honestly, I love Libyans. I hate when I see people don't bring them. But then the nobles, 305 and 344. Excellent job on both of those. They are great units as well. And then finally, Egypt, Mr. Juicy Nips. I'm sure they're not juicy after that fight. With that, 126 on that Royal Thorax General. Wonderful job there. 119 on that mercenary, or that citizen cavalry. Great job. Yet another unit of cavalry coming from the other side. They probably could have wiped that out with ease. But archer-wise, 145 on that Cretan archer and 206 on that Rhodian slinger. Wonderful job. Let's see, anything too crazy infantry-wise. 67 on a Carian, not bad, not bad. Especially because I consider Carian was hit by enemy infantry from that guerrilla assault. So I think it did a wonderful job. But infantry-wise, didn't perform very well. I think his biggest issue is he had a very non-committal commit on his side of things. He only had 3 units with those 3 Libyans, or Egyptians. What I would have done is 5. 3 Egyptians, 2 Thorax. Force them to commit heavily and use those ranged with abandon initially. Because they have to force people, it's going to force them to panic and pull people from the front line, because the back line is never in position enough to stop a fight when the front line is. So, biggest positive point and biggest negative point on each side, I guess. Defender-wise, I think each of them played their roles perfectly. Sparta especially on the defenders. Biggest downside, in my opinion, I think they lacked infantry to defend additional points. They had enough to defend the choke point and a few positions on the side. There are multiple periods where if Egypt committed an assault to that corner, they did not have the infantry to hold the side. They do not have the infantry to hold 2 positions because obviously Odrysian can't hold and Lusitania was outside, and Sparta didn't have the infantry to do it. But that caveat is that's how the army was played, and it didn't come into play, so they didn't have to worry about it. Biggest upside for the attackers, I think, the willingness to at least open up other areas, force Sparta to keep 1 to 2 units back, Lusitani couldn't come into the fight until the end with that general because he was forced to defend against the possibility of a side assault, which is what you want to do if you don't want to commit to that corner fight. You want enough there to be able to force them out. Biggest downside of the attackers is the downside I see every time on Bertigala recently. You hit that choke point and you tunnel vision on that choke point. The defenders win on choke points. I'll tell you that 9 times out of 10 the defenders will win on a choke point, especially in this one where they didn't have the infantry to hold multiple positions. You decided, hey, here's one position you have to hold, you're welcome. And because of that, they were able to hold out. I think if it was a wide-ranged assault, if Egypt, Carthage, and Macedon each attacked a different point, defenders would have crumbled. They wouldn't have had the infantry to hold. They would have been forced to pull back very early, and they would have had a very easy time dealing with that guerrilla assault because their infantry would have been able to move into the city and neutralize a lot of those guerrilla advantages. But that's just me. That's my rants done. 2 this time. Congratulations, everyone. You let me know. Am I crazy? Am I not? If I hear something about the tower walls, I'm going to ignore it because I don't want to get into an argument. I've said all I said. Tower walls aren't bad, but they limit you. And that's what the issue with passive defense, especially when you're the attacking force. You don't want to give up momentum ever. The moment you give up momentum as attacker, you give the defenders the win. And if you don't give the defenders the win, you make the battle far more bloody for yourself than you ever need it. Aggression is necessary for attack, but you have to make sure you're not overly aggressive, which is my caveat. But with that, you let me know how it is. Bye for now.